Let's take a look at today. We had a new statistical record for 2025 of the worst cyclical narrow range for the first hour of the day. Uh, that passed up one day we had in September. I think it was September. And then the prior worst day was, gosh, when was it? Was April or May? So anyhow, that was the statistically worst opening range chop of 2025. Now, MNQ trading on Momstrat, you would have hit daily loss limit, which is fine because we have this optimized for out of every 20 to 21 trade days, we're willing to take up to 4 losing days a month to get 16 to 17 winning days a month. So that one, that one just got hacked to death right out of the open. Now, what's basically was going on, I was typing to our room, is that we had the huge pump yesterday. Institutionals pumped it. Basically, we gapped up in the overnight session, and this whole morning out of the open, institutionals are running distribution. So they were buying every single little pullback like crazy. They're absorbing selling like they were working it hard. And I'm not talking watching order flow and futures. That stuff's like kid stuff. They do all this now with options. They do it with zero DTE options and they do it with regular options. And then they buy stocks and they're doing this automated. Yes, they're buying futures on these pullbacks too, but futures isn't the big game anymore for them when they're running distribution operations, meaning they've pumped a market up, they've parked it, and then they're selling out of stocks that are deep in the money, very likely tech stocks or anything that's deep in the money. So they're distributing, but they're holding the market up while they're doing that by buying options, automated, and buying value or stocks that I would call are more defensive in nature. So it looks like stocks are getting bought, but they're not buying the high flyers. They're buying stuff that isn't going to be affected as much when they get done with their distribution operations and they come up, try to get breakout buyers in and get shorties in, wipe the shorts out, get some more breakout buyers in, and then the second they stop buying and turn off the distribution pumps, down she goes. Classic pump, park, distribute, and get out of the way. And what else are they doing up here on these high pivots? They're putting on futures short as hedge positions, knowing when they stop buying, the market's going to go down. So now they have directional short trades that they can hold as hedge against stock prices that are now going to start dropping in value. So they were working it like crazy this morning in this area. And I was typing in the room that, yeah, it looks like there's some serious distribution operations going on. Now, the pivot point approach actually didn't do too bad this morning, considering we had our worst statistical opening range. The first 30 minutes was like way the worst, but even the first hour ended up being slightly worse than, I think it was a day in September. We had one day like that. Okay, let's go look at the pivot point real quick. And if you have any questions at any time for me, info@gridalgo.com. Yeah, they're just dumping this thing now. They're just completely out of the way as buyers and letting it just blow out now that they've handed the bag to weaker hands and turned off all the buying, and they know exactly now all their futures hedge positions that they put in the market in this upper range of price is basically all deep in the money now. So, total distribution day. And those happen a lot after you get big days where they just pump all day long. And then you get a gapped up open the next day. And then they just hang on to it. So anyhow, I've updated the automated strategy for the pivot point group. I've updated the strategy and I wanted to test it today. So right at 832, the first bar out of 832, I can start looking for an entry. In this case, the last signal prior to 832 was a short signal. And at 8:30, the first bar at 8:32 is an up closing candle, so the automation won't put me into the trade. The next candle was a down closing candle. It put me into a trade. So that worked. It worked in replay mode, and I wanted to test it live. Now, one thing I will say, very odd, I was having CQG data outages this morning during this period. Had some bad ones yesterday and a few the day before. Haven't seen that. Like I don't even think I've seen outages like that in all of 2025. Rhythmic feed was trash today. I had all kinds of people. I had Rhythmic anywhere from 45 seconds to a minute, minute and a half late on Apex accounts. Didn't affect me though, because I pump DTNIQ feed into my charts now. I never feed any chart running automation with horrid junk Rhythmic feed. That company should just close their doors and go away. Or the prop firm industry, they got money coming out of their ass, should go buy Rhythmic, go build a brand new tick engine that's not 100 years old, clean that feed up, and then let it be their industry feed. Just don't let Top Step be the one to buy it. Joke. So anyhow, yeah, it was short. Then the strategy flipped to a long. So I had a loser. Then the strategy flipped to short, then back to long. And I just kept running it. I kept running it. So it was getting buried, and then made some money here, made a very little bit of money there, more money there, and then all of a sudden, whooshka. Because I was testing it and I didn't really care. This move, like, wow. So in the worst statistical range of the entire 2025, I came out alive. Now, even if I just would have taken the long trade in here and blipped out the second we made a new high, then turn the strategy back on, catch one trade, two more, I still would have been, pretty close to being to break even on the day, to at least like clean up the mess from this junk. But this move just kept going and going and going. So, and I was not surprised. There was a level I was watching, 25 140s. I knew if that broke, so I was in the short trade. If it broke, we're going to get some extended move, and it just kept going. And kind of knowing that this all looked like distribution operations. When they let go, and the area where they were supporting all the buying, and they let it go through there, usually get a very extended down move. And the market's still selling off right now. So I was actually surprised. And these pivot point chart settings are just like eyeball back tested. Now that I finally have the strategy in my hand, we already had the strategy for trading the signals. I also wanted to add in the mode for the pivot point group, beta group, to also toggle on or off. Do you want to take the trade right out of the open for the time window that you've set? So it worked today live. I'm going to go turn it back on and set new time windows and uncheck the box. What does it say? Like something about historical fills in the strategy. I'm going to uncheck that so it doesn't remember prior P&L settings where I just set 1500. I think I set it at 1510. When it gets to 1510, blip out the trade. But anyhow, yeah. I'm going to test it just a little bit more, and then I'm going to go give that out to the group so they'll have that option to use that each day if they want to take the initial movement right out of the open instead of waiting for the first signal. So those that just waited for the first signal, you were long, then you were short. So you had two losers, but then you got a winner. So that kind of cleaned up. Then you're short. Short didn't make a whole lot till it flipped long, made some money there, and if he kept it on, he cleaned up. So, but yeah, again, this is the worst statistical, meaning narrow. It's very narrow, and the amount of cycles. The more cycles makes it get graded lower the way we analyze it. So now, though, I have to take the system, now that I have that opening mode available, now I can go in and start doing some back testing and some optimization work and find out, hey, We're playing with the Livewire Renko. Some traders are playing with that. I'm playing with the Ninja. There's another Renko, Renko XBT. I'm going to test that out too. And in the end, we're going to find out here in the next week or so what are some of the best time frames for Nasdaq, because I really don't know yet. I'm just kind of, this is just kind of manually, I'll start here and then work from here standpoint. And then what are the best settings for the PPG1 indicator that was built currently to go read symmetrical Renkos. So I went in and modified the indicator specifically to read symmetrical Renkos and ignore some of the cyclical activity in up and down moves. In the one part of the multiple axis of adjustability allows us to ignore more and more the cyclical activity and just keep maintaining, as long as the pivots are ascending like this, hey, keep me long. So that's turned out to be a really good indicator. One of our guys put up some chart settings on a candle setting I'm going to go look at today. I made a big note. I think that's going to be some killer settings. So the group has been doing some fantastic sharing in our private community room. And then I've announced to the Algo IQ group our pivot point. I'm going to take, whatever data I'm getting out of this. And today the programmer's working on adding scalp dots automation option to the mom strat. So we can have two different ways to trade automated, meaning if you're in the Algo IQ program, you can run a symmetrical Renko on settings that we recommend for the dot-to-dot trading, and then you can run it fully automated with break-even stop threshold, with daily profit objective, with time window, all that stuff. So that's coming down the pipe. My programmer's in queue to start working on that today. So anyhow, all kinds of good stuff. But yeah, junk chop open, both CQG and Rhythmic. Rhythmic data feed was just trash today. But I'm now to the point where I'm pumping DTNIQ feed to any chart that's running automation. I want to keep my charts on good data running the automation. I'll let the Rhythmic or CQG just handle the order routing side of things. So anyhow, there you have it. If you have any questions, info@gridalgo.com. You guys have a great day, and I'll have more updates and content out probably later today.